Hello, Surge community. Welcome to another episode of Surge Straight Talk. My name is Amanda Chaco, and I am the director of Surge. Today, I will be speaking with Bryce Kaiser. Bryce is a serial entrepreneur with a commitment to growing the Michigan technology sector. Not only has Bryce started and joined numerous technology startups, he's also a Surge mentor. And he really enjoys working with early stage startups with limited resources and aggressive goals. Today, Bryce will be sharing his own entrepreneurial journey and some of the mistakes he sees new founders make when launching their companies. Please welcome Bryce Kaiser. Well, hey Bryce, how's it going?
Going well. Excited to be here.
Good. So to talk about today, and we have a lot of great insights to share. But first, let's hear a little bit about you. Like, how did you get into this whole entrepreneurship thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I grew up on the east side of the state, originally Metro Detroit, and came out to West Michigan for college, and then I stayed out in West Michigan ever since. But growing up, I think entrepreneurship was always in my blood. I didn't really have a choice to do anything else. My parents hung a drawing that I did or some assignment that I did back in grade school up on the fridge where they asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to own a business. And so I was destined to do that, I think, and a lot of family members had their own business. So I was exposed to it at a very young age and saw the benefits of it, also saw the downsides of it, but I liked it. It was always in my mind that I wanted to own a business. So when I was 16, I did the typical teenager thing and started a landscaping company and went door to door knocking on everyone's houses saying, hey, you need your leaves raked, you need the grass cut, whatever. And so that's where I first got introduced to getting out there and talking to people and selling. And so learned some things there. Then went to college, did an internship for a software company called Blue Medora, and just got hooked on software startups at that point. It was a 5-person company when I was there, and it was just like something that was meaningful to them, and it was exciting. So I got hooked, worked at Blue Medora for about 3 years, and eventually left to start my own company. I thought I knew everything at that time. So I started a software company called HC Golf, which doesn't exist today anymore. But
What was that, HC Golf? Because that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, I hope so. You were one of the individuals who mentored me and gave me advice back then.
Oh no. No wonder it's not around anymore.
No. So HC Golf was it was a golf software company. The idea was you could take a video of your swing on the first hole, and if you shank your drive, you can have your swing fixed by the 9th hole. So it's like on-demand video analysis. Is around the same time as Uber, when Uber was getting popular, and I was like, if take this concept of on-demand and Uberification of things and take it to golf, just real-time swing analysis.
Yeah.
And so I had that idea because while I was like 22 and liked to golf, and what other life experiences did I have? So I started the golf company, participated in Start Garden's 5x5 night, got the $5,000.
Okay.
Then
It's all coming back now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So then got the $20,000 additional from Start Garden after that, and that was incredible. It was the business didn't succeed for a bunch of reasons, primarily because I was not ready to run my own business at that time. I didn't know everything that went into running a business, all this payroll side of things, the taxes side of things, all this administrative bookkeeping stuff that you have to do. I didn't think about that. I just thought about I was going to make software and then sell it and be a billionaire. So I learned a lot. But what Start Garden did for me then, and what that period of my life did, was really cement that I could do it. That it wasn't that scary to make the jump and to bet on myself, and it gave me the momentum, and I built a network at that time to convince me to keep going.
Mhm.
So I, HC Golf did not live long, but I then went into consulting. I had my own consultancy and worked with a bunch of other startups. And that's where I learned so much, working with dozens of companies that were early stage and growth stage, and some bigger companies that wanted to act more like a startup. And I just got to see so many things in a short period of time that I really learned about what makes a viable business and what goes into it, which just set me up for future success when I'd start my other companies later on.
It's great that you were able to get all of that experience with other people's businesses. Not your
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, if you can, learn on someone else's dime, because it's you don't want to drain your life savings to start your own business if you don't have to, right? Or at least not in your first attempt, which I have drained my life savings a couple times now, but fortunately I've got some time to rebuild that. But um, but yeah, I learned a lot along the way, working, first working at Blue Medora, working for great leaders there, and having the opportunity to build a product from scratch and build teams when I was 21 years old, being trusted to do those types of things. That was an incredible opportunity. And then going out, starting my own business and failing and learning that I'm not as big of a hotshot as I thought I was. And then working with other great companies, just you learn so much. And I think startup years are like dog years, where it's like each year in a startup is like 7 years in the real world. You just learn so much. So is definitely an accelerated learning and real world MBA, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that golf idea, I still think it's really good. Has anyone else come out with that since then?
There have been some forms of it, and frankly, if someone wants to go make $1 million a year, they could go uh, build something like I built, but just do it a little different. So, if you just make an online golf school and have a couple instructors staff to respond to those swings, to the swing submissions, you can make some good money. Don't try to do a double-sided marketplace that's all this Uber-fied thing. Just do it the traditional way and just have a golf school with good marketing, and you'll be all right.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see who's listening that comes up with that next iteration. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Yeah. So did the consulting work for a few years, and mostly on product development and product market fit, and some biz dev. Um, I, at the same time, started a company with my wife. We married our talents as well as marrying each other to start this business. Um, my wife Lauren is a board certified behavior analyst working with children with autism, and she would come home every day and tell me about all these problems with the system, and my background in software technology. As we can solve these problems. So we started a company called Whom House as a passion project back in 2015, and we just wanted to make autism therapy services more accessible and affordable for the people who needed it. And just a passion project, but then more and more people needed the services, so it grew, and we still operate that business today. We have therapists all across the country and clients all across the world. We're still small business. We're just a 10-person business, but we like it, and we're able to make an impact, and it feels good to do that work each day.
Yeah. Well, that's important work, and it sounds like there are more and more autism spectrum cases that I'm hearing about. So I'm sure that everyone really appreciates to have that service.
Yeah, and so we're trying to make a small disruption in that space, and everything we do is telehealth, and which is great for some individuals who don't have access to those services otherwise. These autism therapy clinics can be 2 hours away from your home, and
Oh,
you have to
wow.
drive there,
Yeah.
drop your kid off for a few hours and go pick them up again. And it's just not really, it's not practical for everyone. So, so with our services, we're at least able to serve those individuals who wouldn't get access to care otherwise. When we started the company, there were wait lists as long as 2 years for services
Oh,
in some areas. And so that just didn't seem right to us when that was the case in some areas, but in other areas, there were more therapists than they knew what to do with. So if you could connect those families with therapists in different areas over a video call, you can solve that problem. And just kind of balance out that supply and demand issue. So it was as simple in the beginning as just video calls and phone calls. And over time, we built our own proprietary platform, and we now train the next generation of therapists and how to do these things. And it's grown in crazy ways over time that we didn't think would happen when we started the business.
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. But we for some crazy reason, I can't ever just do one thing. So then back in 2018, I was approached by a couple amazing individuals, Joe and Daniel at 86 Repairs, with their idea for a business. And I joined that team. And so I also operate that business that's based in Grand Rapids, and we have people all across the country and the world. We have someone in Sweden as well there. So,
And what do they do?
what does 86
What's
Repairs do?
86? Yeah.
Yeah. So 86 Repairs is in the restaurant industry. We manage the repairs and maintenance process for restaurants. Super sexy, I know, but the restaurants, instead of calling a service provider when the walk-in cooler is down, they call us, and then we make sure that the right service provider comes out for the right price, and we manage the whole process along the way. So it's kind of like a white glove service. So you don't have to worry about all those headaches with repairs and maintenance. So we shift that responsibility from the restaurants onto our plate, but then that's that doesn't sound very fun for us to do that. So we use technology behind the scenes to automate a lot of that process and to do that in a scalable way. So we have a few people we call community managers who interact with the restaurants and manage this whole process. And they're able to work with hundreds of restaurants at a time, instead of in the traditional way where you'd have one facilities manager for maybe 5 or 10 locations. So we lean a lot on automation and technology to make this scalable and fun, and allow us to manage these locations from anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, that's great. I remember when 86 Repairs launched, and we actually did a business accelerator fund with 86 Repairs, and it's been fun to watch how that company is growing. And I'm sure with COVID and its impact in the restaurants, that must have shifted things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It made a big change. So it's, the COVID was interesting because I have these two businesses, and on one side with telehealth, all the attention was going over there. It was booming, it was growing. And then the restaurant industry, suddenly all these restaurants were told to close, and they don't know what their future is going to look like. And so they need to try to cut expenses anywhere possible. And so what we did was we got ahead of the situation, and we offered our services for free to our customers, because it was more important that we continue to serve these restaurants and make sure that they're successful and make sure that they're able to reopen when the time comes, than it was for us to make our subscription fee over the course of those few months. So we discounted our services, kept working with the restaurants, and now restaurants are starting to pick back up, and it's is almost like an elastic band being stretched out, and now it's bouncing back. So we had a little lull for a couple months, and now it's crazy busy again, and we're growing.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. But the industry's definitely changed forever, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with the next generation of restaurants that open up, and how these long-standing restaurants change and adapt. Fortunately for us, we were always off-site to begin with, and repairs of equipment, that's not going to go away anytime soon. You still have to cook that food on that fryer in that grill. So
Yeah.
it's still needed.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had an amazing journey and experience working with all these startups, your own startups, and now as a Surge mentor, I know you're really a valuable resource to a lot of our founders. So do you see any common threads, and even like relating to your own experiences when you're meeting with founders, especially in those early stages? Like, what are some of the common missteps that you say?
Yeah. So just speaking from my own experiences, there are definitely some common threads for people when starting their businesses or in that early stage. And I think there are a lot of people who could give feedback and advice on very tactical things, like here's how you should do your marketing, and here's how you should do sales, and here's product development. But just looking at the lifestyle and the decision making of founders, I think one of the very first things that you have to figure out is knowing your why. Why are you starting this business? That was a mistake that I made when I started HC Golf all those years ago, was that I thought that I wanted to be the next Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, and I wanted to make all this money and be this big shot and have this huge company. And it wasn't until a few years later and working with all these other businesses that I saw that there were other options. You didn't have to be a technology unicorn. You could have a 10-person, 20-person business, really know everyone who works on your team, and make a big impact without having to, go do all these press conferences all the time and be beholden to investors and all that. So I think I see a lot of people who start businesses without knowing all the options that are out there for how to run their business. So you don't have to build it like a Silicon Valley startup, and you don't have to do it like a mom and pop shop either. There's a lot of options in between. And you need to figure out what's right for you. So, I would say don't jump into a business right away until you have some sense of what you want to get out of it, what success looks like for you. Do you want location independence, time independence? Do you just want to make a bunch of money? Do you want to retire young? Do you want power, wealth? Figure all that out ahead of time. I think that'd be one of the big lessons.
Yeah. And certainly before you start raising venture capital, because then that decision may be made for you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you started a business because you didn't want a boss, you wanted to work for yourself, then raising a bunch of money and having a board telling you what to do is probably not the way to go. There are great boards out there, of course, but you still, if you start a business because you wanted to be the boss, don't go raise a bunch of money and get bosses.
Yeah, that's true. Well, from my own experience, it's wouldn't only be investors, but your customers, your employees. I mean, anyone that starts a company thinking it's the easier way out is mistaken.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy the work that you're doing. Otherwise it's just exhausting. It'll drain you. So, that's a good point about customers too. If you have 1,000 customers, they can kind of become your boss too. You're beholden to them. You need to make sure that they're happy and satisfied. And, if you don't want to be on a support call at 11 o'clock at night on a weekend, keep that in mind with the type of business that you're building. if you just want some passive income coming in, and you can build a business that way. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And knowing what you're good at and what you're not, and who to surround yourself with is a big thing.
Absolutely. There's you you have to wear a lot of hats as a founder for sure, and you won't be able to get away from that. You'll still need to know what's going on in different parts of the business, but yeah, you definitely want to know your strengths. Are you the type of person who loves going out and knocking on doors and talking to people? Great, then go do that. Go lean into that. If you're someone who is terrified of of those types of things, then you probably shouldn't be responsible for sales for your company. You might want to find someone else to help you out there.
Yeah, that's for sure. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so what else?
Uh, so what else? Um, I think so. Another item would be just making sure you obtain enough life experiences before starting your business, so that you actually have a really unique perspective before you go out there. Because if you try to start a business in a popular space, you're going to have a lot of competitors. And if you don't have an unfair advantage, you're going to get knocked out of there quickly. So the types of businesses that I've always been drawn to have been the unsexy businesses, and those have tended to do better. Blue Medora was an enterprise software company. It made software that monitored other software. That doesn't sound very exciting on the surface, but that means that there weren't a lot of people coming in and competing. Same with 86 repairs and managing equipment repairs for restaurants. You're not turning a lot of heads with that one, but customers need it. We had no problem with sales and no problem building that business. So what you want to do is you want to, especially if you're young, I talk to a lot of first-time founders, a lot of people in their 20s and 30s who want to start a business. And I can't tell you how many college students I've talked to who want to start a business, and they have the idea of, a new social network or a better way to find parking or whatever. Cause those are the life experiences that they're having in that moment, and they're trying to solve those problems. But you can only solve as big of problems as you've been exposed to. I never would have found telehealth in the autism therapy space if my wife wasn't a BCBA, board certified behavior analyst working with that population. And if my nephew hadn't been diagnosed on the spectrum, and if I hadn't had the background in technology, so that's how that came together. So I think if you're not sure exactly what company you want to build, don't go with the first idea necessarily, unless it's something really unique to your background. Take some time, travel, hang out with people who are very fortunate, hang out with people who are less fortunate, figure out the trends, what's common between them, just get into different industries, consult if you can before starting your business. Just look at all those types of things before committing to one idea.
Yeah, that's great advice. Definitely, having that experience, even, just working with other startups and, contributing, but learning a lot in the process, I think will go a long way before launching your own thing.
Right. Absolutely. And I think a third mistake is, and I don't even know if these are mistakes, these are just things that happen when starting your business. But I think something that I've learned over the years is that if you have something that people want, then they'll tell you that. If it shouldn't be that difficult for you to go make your first few sales. If you talk to 200 people and only one of them wants to buy what you're selling, then you have to look at, is it how you're positioning it, or is it the offering itself? You should be able to turn some heads in just one sentence or two sentences, because eventually at some point you're not going to have the luxury of having an hour to convince someone to buy your product. So you need to turn their heads with just one ad or one line, one statement. So if you're starting a business and you're just, the sales aren't happening, and you are putting in the work, and you are going out and talking to people, and people aren't buying it, then you have to look at, is it the way that I'm positioning it, or is there something wrong with the offering itself? Because it's just, it really shouldn't be that hard. People should be knocking on your door for what you have, and your challenge should be just making as many people aware as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Which would, in lean startup terms, would be a problem solution fit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're really, solving a real problem and you have the right solution, which is a great segue into our second Surge Boost Camp, which you were last year one of our mentors for Surge Boost Camp, and we've just opened applications again, and we're excited that you'll be with us again. So, what with your experience with the startups that went through Surge Boost Camp, and like a lot of the things that you've talked about today, where do you see that being of value to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so Boost Camp is a great opportunity for anyone who is early stage in their business, or about to launch a new offering soon, and they are unsure of how to do that, or how successful it will be. You'll know within the 3-month program if this is a real opportunity or not for you to continue to put your effort into. I think a lot of individuals, when they start their business, struggle to find customers and get out there, get outside of the office, and knock on doors and talk to people. And with Boost Camp, you can't get around that. We're going to make sure that you are talking to 20 people this week, 50 people next week, 100 people the week after that, and make sure that you're having those conversations and digesting them and learning from them, because it is a little bit of an art of just learning how to position your product and take that feedback from people, because you don't want to react too much to feedback that you get. If someone says that they would pay $100 for it, doesn't mean that you should price it at $100, right? You need to make sure you ask enough people so your sample set's large enough to figure out what your pricing should be. So, last year at Boost Camp, we focused a lot on getting out there, talking to people, and then digesting that information and figuring out what to do next with it. And I think we're going to do a lot more of that this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall in love with their technology or their product, and just want to build it to be this perfect, all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles, and then launch it out to the world. And a lot of times that backfires. So, getting out there early and having those conversations, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And, maybe you go out there and they tell you that we're not interested in this. Whatever you're selling A, I don't care about A, I've got this problem B over here, this is what I'm worried about. Well, that's fine. Then maybe you should listen to that, digest it, and think, well, can I solve problem B? And then maybe you go out there and do that. When you're in that early stage, you have to decide, are you going to anchor your business around a problem or a solution or the technology, or however you, or the audience? Like, what are you anchoring around? And last year at Boost Camp, we spent a good amount of time talking about that too. Are you building this business to serve this industry, or are you building this business to bring this product to market, or to do, like, what are you building this business for? And I think that's an important question to answer, because you can take your business a bunch of different ways. And so you just have to listen to people and decide which way you want to go.
Listening. That's the ticket. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we end, so anyone watching this that's interested in Boost Camp, applications are open on the Surge website. So please spread the word or apply if you think it's something that would benefit you. But before we close, do you have any last words of wisdom, Bryce?
Geez, last words of wisdom. No, well, in general, when I talk to people, I say just build your network as much as possible. Tap into the community. There are a lot of great resources out there. So if you're working at a corporate job and you're thinking about starting a business, and you just don't know where to start, then just Surge is a great place to start. Just reach out to Surge and reach out to anyone affiliated with it, and you'll be in a better place after reaching out. So I think that's it. Just tap into the resources that are available. Starting a business can be really tough if you're doing it alone, or even if you're doing it if you're starting a business with a co-founder, it can be tough. You can end up on startup island and feeling like there's no one else around you going through this. I mean, only 10% of the population owns a business, so you're in rare territory to begin with. So tap into the community that does exist. There's so much out there, and the only good things can happen from reaching out and getting engaged with the programming in your community.
Great words of wisdom, Bryce. I
Thanks.
appreciate the Surge plug. Thanks. Well,
Absolutely.
Thanks for spending your time with us today and sharing. And as I mentioned earlier, Bryce is one of our mentors and is really been great in being open and receptive to introductions and to people that like to chat with him. So I'll speak on behalf of Bryce and say, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll always have a conversation with someone who's trying to do something meaningful. So I hope conversations come out of this. I'd love to talk to someone, and for better or worse, I will always give feedback if someone asks for it. So, and sometimes if people don't ask for it, I still get feedback. But if you need any feedback on anything, I'm here.
Okay. And how would people find you?
Oh man, just go through the social networks and you'll find me. Go to LinkedIn, look for Bryce Kaiser, and look for this face, and you'll find me. And yeah, or talk to Amanda. Amanda will lead you to me. You'll find me if you look.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks again, and have a great day.
Absolutely. Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.